The Daily Code Snippet. The concept of inheritance with CSS is that some properties are applied to the child elements automatically. These elements inherit the value for that property from their parent element. This is meant to save time so that you don't need to specify the property for all elements if the value will remain the same. Some properties are inherited while others are not, so it is important to know the difference. Width, margin, padding, and borders are examples of properties that are not inherited. If you think about it, if you added a border to an element, would you really want it to apply to all the child elements related to that element? Probably not. You would spend time trying to remove the border on multiple elements. So common sense determines what properties are inherited as well as those that are not. Color is an example of an inherited element. A classic example is if you have an unordered list. Here is the HTML, and here is the CSS. If you give the unordered list a particular color, all its list item children will inherit the same color. And again, it is likely you would want a grouping of list items to have a consistent color. It will save you time to not have to add the color to each individual list item. So in this case, all the list items will be medium gray because they will inherit the color of the unordered list element that is its parent. However, sometimes you want to control inheritance and go against the convention. To do this, you will use the following values: inherit, initial, and unset. When you set a property's value to inherit, it will turn on inheritance for that property, and it will take on the characteristics of that property from its parent element. Initial sets the property back to the browser default, and finally, unset behaves as either inherit or initial. If the parent has a value that matches, it will inherit, or else it will be initial. Some browsers may support a new value called revert. Revert will reset the property to an inherited value if it is a property that inherits, or it will revert to the default value established by the styles. In this example, we are taking our example of an unordered list, and we have taken the third list item and given its color property the value of initial. The result is the color will revert back to the original or initial color, which is black. We are doing the same with the H3 element to which styling was applied for our next example. The result is to remove that styling. In the next example, we are showing you how unset and revert act differently. As we have stated, we have added a different styling to our H3 element. It is of normal weight with a dark blue color and a dark blue underline. When we apply the value of unset to the font weight, color, border bottom, the result is that the heading is now black without an underline. In contrast, when we apply revert, the heading is a bold weight, black, and has no underline. Unset merely blocks the element from inheriting the H3 styling we applied. Revert will have the element revert to its default state. As the default state for a heading element is to be bold, the element is now bold. Note in our CSS, when we plan to affect all the properties, we can use a shorthand property all and set it to revert instead of having to write out the font weight, color, and border bottom properties out individually. Presented by Designers Learn Code.